Hello everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. Hope that you're doing great today. Thank you for being here. I hope that this is an inspirational place, a safe place for you to come and chat about things that are of interest to older women. And this topic today is one that has been a theme in my life for a long time, and I'll explain why, but it's about finding a location where you live that matches your heart. Now, we've written about this before and we've talked about it, but this is a different angle, I think. One of our bloggers, Eileen Marcus, wrote this story, and she kind of looks at the analysis of, the places that we choose and how that represents our personalities. And maybe, like me, you've moved around a lot when you were younger, and maybe even now you're continuing to move. It seems like there are like categories of people, those that stay in the same place, forever and ever and never move, and then those that seem to be more restless or undecided, and they by circumstance and sometimes by no choice of your own, moving on to somewhere else. So basically, what Eileen says, and I think this is true, is that location, it's everything, but where you're standing is what you see. And that's a quote from her article. And I really like that because it's true. It's like, depending on where you choose to live, you will see the world differently. You will see the experience of your life unfolding in a different way. So whether you're in the city or a suburb or country, you actually have a different, it shapes you in a different way. And maybe you can support this in the comments below. We can have a little chat about this. But, she says that, you're born to an address. You didn't have a choice that you were born in a city or town somewhere. Your parents were there. And the story of how they got to be there is actually interesting too. I mean, I think that's always a very fascinating way of looking at it. What were your parents doing? What were they going through? What was their life story as they ended up where you were born? I was born in Acton in England, in West London. And I left when I was 8 to move to Canada, but I don't remember too much about Acton. I went back there to my house when I was older, in my 50s, and it was so interesting because the way I remember my little house or flat was that there was a big garden outside of it with beautiful flowers. That was my memory. But when I went back, I saw that the hollyhocks only went to the top of the flowers went to the top of the fence, and beyond that were factories. Like, it was a very industrial part of town. I know it's changed now, of course, but the point is that when I was little, I saw it one way because that's what I saw. That was my reality. And now as I got older, I feel that I've embellished and describe it in different ways. So now your hometown may not be the place that you want to be. You may be living in the same place. How many people in our group here are living in the same town or city or area that they were born in? I'm going to guess it's not many, but maybe I'm wrong, because the global world that we live in now is taking us, it's possible to move around and to go to different places. So I have a feeling that a lot moved. I mean, when I was, I moved, I think I counted it once, like 13 times when I was a young person, until the age of like 20. And a lot of it was because my dad was, had just come from the war, and he was just restless and looking for a new start for his life and his family. And we moved a lot. We really moved a lot. But maybe the same is for you. But I'd love to know how many are in the same place that you were born. Fascinating. So anyway, I was living in Detroit when I was in my 18, 19, and then I moved to Colorado. And, as I moved from one urban city environment to the country, well, at that point, Boulder in Colorado was was not so developed. It was more suburban, I guess, or more, it was rural. It kind of created a different person. So Eileen talks about the way that the place you live affects your growth and your attitude and your lifestyle. So first of all, you define where you live as being in the suburbia. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like, in the States at least, because that's where I spent a lot of my life, outlying to a major city, big box stores, the IKEAs and Costco's of the world, and strip malls where you get the hairdresser and the barber and the little grocery store, like strip malls, like one store after the other. And everybody owns a car. Your whole world revolves around getting about by car. There's no transportation, usually, in the United States at least. Now in Europe it's very different. Suburbia, like for example, I could say now that I live as a suburb. No, it's not really a suburb of Lucerne or Zurich, although they're very close to me, but I we know in these places we have incredible public transport. It's a small town, but it's great trains and buses and transport. But in the States, suburbia means outlying a big city, no way to get in except by car. The second is city. You're living in the downtown area or in the suburban or in the city areas. In many places, like in Detroit, there's just different areas. There's just different neighborhoods in the city of Detroit. And down is like stores and residences are mixed. You've got shops on the bottom, houses, apartments on the top. And you've got this much more of an ethnic influence. You've got lots of different people from different cultures, different countries, and you've got mass transit. You get around by a tube or train or tram. That's how you move around in the city. It's condensed. And then, of course, country, you've got cows, fewer buildings, more tractors than cars, limited shopping opportunities. You've got to go a distance to get to the shops. Scooters, bikes, boots maybe to walk. Yeah, you're walking, and there's less public transport. And it's back to the car. You need the car. A man called E.B. White did an essay, 1948 essay, and it was called "Here is New York." And in that city, let's take a city for example, he said that there were three kinds of people. There were the natives, the people who were born there, the people that provide like stability and history, and my grandmother did this, my father did that. Like it's just a story of your family. And we've actually got a lot of women. I'm thinking of a couple in particular who come to our Patreon supporters group live shows, because we're like a smaller group within 60andMe. It's like a private supporters group, and a couple of people are in this New York area in the city, and they are natives. And when they talk about life, it's always about my mother this, my father this, we did that as a family, we have a family business. And it's kind of interesting. I think it's really, really cool. Bev, I'm talking to you. But these people are natives to an area. I think Bev doesn't live in the city of New York, but, it's still that same sort of native, established as a native. Commuters, they come to the city for work and they just basically come and go. They come in the day, they work, they go home. They live in the suburbs. And that's the other category that E.B. White identified: natives, commuters. And then the third one were settlers. And these are people who come to a place, they come to a city, and they choose to be there. And in some ways, they're the strongest in terms of the, just the sense of ownership and being there, because they've made a choice. They've chosen to go from somewhere else to this place, and they're not natives, but they're settlers. It's kind of like the going west. You got all the trouble of getting on the wagon train and going west. You're like, you own that place that you've landed. And, basically you can make your choice. You can either choose suburbia, city, or country, and then you can choose, or you can be a native, or you can choose to be a settler or a commuter. Where you choose to live your life becomes yourself, and that's what matters. And I love this, the way that Eileen points this out, because I think it's really, really powerful. And I think you should tell your story, shout it out with pride. Say I was born a native here, and then I moved here to do that, and then, this is your choice. You made these choices. And I think that I remember I gave my son a little, what was it, like a sculpture or something when he was in his teenage years, and it just had, it was kind of a collage of images. I'm trying to remember it now, but it said, choose wisely. And that was, as a parent, I think the only advice I really wanted to give my kids as they got older was just make good choices. Because the choices that you make, the friends, the places, the houses, the homes, the jobs, everything, that then takes you off on when you're a young child, you're a youngster, a teenager, you're in the home. And so everything's kind of a little way decided for you. We're moving here. We're doing that. This is the school that you go to in this neighborhood. But then it's yours, and choose wisely. It's a struggle sometimes. But my story, well, I was a native of London. So I was a large city native. I was raised in Canada, so I was a small town settler. That was when I was little girl, 8 to 13. I chose as a university to go to Colorado, or I went as a place to go to university in Colorado, in Boulder. So I was a city. I would consider Boulder a city. It is now, but it wasn't so much then. But a settler, I chose to be there, and those settler times were the times when I really felt like that I'd made a commitment. Switzerland. I am a small city settler. Again, I'm here. I'm in a small town city, but I am a settler, not a commuter. I'm here. What's my true place? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know where the next place might be. It's there in my mind somewhere, but it's like that. I sometimes think about going back to Acton and living in Acton, where I was born in West London, because it's like that T.S. Eliot quote, which I absolutely love, which is, "We shall not cease from exploration. And at the end of all our exploring, we find ourselves back where we started, but know the place for the first time." It's in 4 quartets. It's a brilliant quote. I use it actually in lots of different contexts. But anyway, you tell your story through your choices. So are you a native commuter? Are you a settler? Are you living in city, suburban, or country? Let's hear who we've got out there. I think it'd be really fun to do some conversation and sharing. But thank you as always for being here, for telling your story, for sharing your time with us, for making this where you settle a few hours a week perhaps. Share with your friends, and the more women that we have on this journey together, the better. Take really good care, everybody. Sending you lots and lots of love. Bye-bye for now.